His Highness the Amir, Sheikh Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah inaugurated today the international conference on pledging to the Syrian people, in which more than 60 countries and organizations are taking part. In his opening speech, His Highness the Amir declared that the State of Kuwait would donate $500 million from both public and private sectors to relieve the Syrian people inside and outside their country. His Highness praised the Kuwaiti citizens for their response to the humanitarian appeals in reaching out and extending a helping hand to the Syrian people who are enduring an increasingly tragic humanitarian condition. His Highness the Amir said Kuwait responded to the request of His Excellency the UN Secretary General and played host to the second donors conference to the Syrian people after hosting the first conference last year, which fulfilled its goals. His Highness said playing host to the two conferences reflected Kuwait's sense of its historic responsibility towards the Syrian brothers and its perception of the magnitude of the disaster befallen upon them, beside the huge challenges facing the neighboring countries after they were flooded with Syrian refugees. His Highness the Amir said the second conference is taking place at a time when the humanitarian catastrophe is still going on, which tens of thousands of innocent people are losing their lives. The conflict there is also destroying the various foundations of life and forcing millions of people to leave their homes and even to flee to other countries as a result of the cruel conflict in which all kinds of weapons are being used, including those which are internationally banned. His Highness the Amir said the fearful figures of the refugees inside and outside Syria announced by international agencies, including United Nations Commission for Human Rights, proved that nearly 140,000 people are killed, and that's double the number of those victims who fell since the first conference. His Highness added that according to the report issued by the World Food and Agriculture Organization, the agricultural and animal sectors had significantly deteriorated, thus affecting the food security of the Syrian people. Highness also appealed in his speech to the participants as well as to the world community to contribute and assist the Syrian people, calling upon them to translate their feelings of humanitarian responsibility and extend a helping hand in order to save the children's innocence, frailty of old men and women, and future of the youth, for which this conference has been called for. The UN Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, also addressed the opening session and expressed thanks and appreciation to His Highness the Amir and to the State of Kuwait for hosting the second donors conference to the Syrian people for the second year in a row. The UN Secretary General also highly appreciated the announcement made by His Highness the Amir for donating $500 million from the governmental and private sectors of Kuwait to support the humanitarian situation of the Syrian people. The Undersecretary General and Emergency Relief Coordinator of Humanitarian Issues in the United Nations, Valerie Amos, also addressed the opening session, announcing that the UN humanitarian agencies had fulfilled their goals in spite of the difficulties they are facing, especially the challenge to their workers who are facing grave dangers. She added that the UN relief agencies are now in need of $6.5 billion to face the urgent needs of the Syrian refugees. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Antonio Guterres, also underlined in his speech the urgent need for generous support from the world community to cope with the challenges of the humanitarian disaster in Syria. He also appealed to world countries to open their borders and receive the Syrian refugees and not only leave this burden for Syrian neighbors. Then, head of the participating delegates started delivering their speeches in which they expressed their support to the humanitarian conditions of the Syrian people. The International Donors Conference for the Syrian people resumed its sessions today after a short break and continued to hear speeches by the heads of the participating delegations.